Hey Princeton K. Okay, we are getting ready to do our calendar math for today. So, as you can see, yesterday was Monday, May 4th, and today is going to be what day of the week? If yesterday was Monday, today is what? Yeah, today is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. And if yesterday was the 4th, that means today is the what? Yeah, it's the 5th. It's the 5th. Today's the 5th. And we see that today is somewhat of a holiday. And I explained this when we were talking about May and the certain holidays that we have going on in the month of May. Today is a day called Cinco de Mayo. Can you say that? Cinco de Mayo? Say Cinco de Mayo. And that means the 5th of May, which is what today's date is. So, Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican holiday. Mexico is south of us, and it is a country. And I have my phone here because I'm going to read to you what Cinco de Mayo is and why it is celebrated. And it's not as much celebrated in Mexico anymore as it is much more a Mexican-American holiday now, but I'm going to read to you why it is celebrated. Are you guys ready? Okay, here we go. So, back in 1862, so that's a long time ago, the Mexican army gained a surprising victory against the French. So the French are people who live in France. So that's across the ocean over in Europe, so far away from here. At the Battle of Puebla. So Battle of Puebla was when the Mexican army beat the French army on May 5th, which is today, but a long, long time ago. So it was a victory or a war that they actually weren't supposed to win. The Mexican army was outnumbered, out-resourced, and outdone. So that means that they were the little guys. They didn't have a lot of resources. They didn't have a lot of weapons when in the war. So they owed France a lot of money, and France kept bossing them around. So they were kind of bullies. The French army, so those who were the people from France, the army from France, they're called the French. They had 6,000 men in armed gear and armed soldiers. So that means that they had a lot of weapons, they had a lot of armor on, so they were ready to go for this war. And the Mexicans had 4,500 soldiers who weren't as equipped. So that means they weren't as armed, they didn't have a lot of weapons ready. So if you think 6,000 is a lot more than 4,500, even though those are really big numbers, if you were to put them together, 6,000 is still more than 4,500, and the French had a lot more gear that was they were ready for war than the Mexicans did. So the French had a history, so that means that they had already done it before. They had a history of beating the Mexicans, but apparently this time it was different. And the Mexicans defeated the French in this war, the Battle of Puebla. So, after they defeated the French, President Benito Juarez declared May 5th a national holiday. So, that is why Cinco de Mayo is what it is now, Cinco de Mayo. So, because the Mexican army defeated the French on May 5th at the Battle of Puebla, that is why we now have Cinco de Mayo. So, that's a little history lesson for you. The Mexican army, was not supposed to win in the Battle of Puebla against the French, but they did, even though they weren't as prepared or they didn't have the numbers to beat the French, they still won. So that is why we have Cinco de Mayo. It is, again, it's something that is more, even though it is a Mexican holiday that was started out in Mexico, it's something that has worked its way up to America and now is something that Mexican Americans and usually just Americans now talk about and celebrate. So that is why we have Cinco de Mayo. People don't take the day off or do anything, like at least Americans don't, but it's not like a national holiday. But Cinco de Mayo is just a holiday or a day that we recognize, and some people just, talk about it, but that's the history. So now you know why it's called Cinco de Mayo. So that's something for you to remember in your brain, so if somebody next year and you talk about it, you can say, oh, this is why we have Cinco de Mayo. So remember that for your sweet little brain so that you remember it, okay? So we have the 5th Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May. So that's a little Spanish for you. And then we're going to look at tomorrow's date. We're going to see that tomorrow is going to be what? Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday. Yeah, it's going to be our favorite day of the week. It's going to be Hump Day. Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. I can't wait. So, Princeton K, I hope you enjoyed that little history lesson about Cinco de Mayo and how it started and how it became. And I will see you guys in our next video. Bye, Princeton K.